Right behind me, I got two BMW M2s. I got my G87 M2 and we got David's F87 M2 competition. Even though both these cars are M2s, they are in no way similar. This is a G chassis, this is an F chassis. After 4.5 months of ownership, me and David decided that we're gonna switch it up. I'll drive his car, he'll drive my car, and we'll give you guys a review on what we think.
I know when this car came out, everybody hated on it, especially because of the looks, and just because people like to hate on new things. And honestly, I wasn't a big fan of this car at first either, but this car has massively grown on me. So while I'm driving this car, I want to focus on 3 key areas. First, we're going to talk about the power, then we're going to talk about the feel of it, and then lastly, I want to talk about the tech and the features. And then at the end, I'll do my full comparison to my car, the M2 competition. So starting off with the power, this car has 465 horsepower, so it's insanely fast. And for this transmission, Roman chose the 8-speed auto, which obviously makes it feel a lot faster than a manual transmission. And one thing I've noticed because of that power is this car likes to break traction. And I mean a lot. I think part of that is because this car has a lot more low-end torque or bottom end than my car does. One thing that Roman's gone ahead and done on this car as well is modified the paddle shifters. So these are actually OEM enhanced paddle shifters, which basically give you a nice little click feel. And they just feel so mechanical and they sound cool too. This car, sometimes I think this car is almost too fast because you quickly hit the gas and it could get you into a lot of trouble. Definitely not used to that with my car. Lastly, this car's 0 to 60 is 4.2 seconds, which I know there's cars nowadays that have like 2 seconds 0 to 60s and whatever, but for a rear wheel drive sports car, that is extremely fast. Now that we've gotten the power out of the way, let's move on to the feel of the car. Now I will say there is definitely less feel than my car, but that's kind of to be expected with a newer car and especially an automatic one. Now don't get me wrong, it feels very snappy and very responsive, especially the steering, but you don't get as much feeling from the road itself. One thing I will say about it though is even when you have the steering in the most Sport Plus whatever setting, it still doesn't feel heavy to the point where it feels like you're not getting too much information from the road. But considering how good of a car this is, if this was my car, I would still be able to live with that. Additionally, with the feel of this car, I think that it's very controllable in the sense that even when you really hit the gas and the car slides out on you, you kind of just instinctively know exactly what's gonna happen. It doesn't feel dangerous at all, it just feels very predictable. With the feel, we'll also mention the sound, because I think that's very important. Now, one thing that I will say for the exhaust sound is, obviously, it is on the quieter side. It's a stock car. But, if you look at how it sounds good. The most fun that there is to be had with this car is straights and sliding. Now we'll just quickly talk about the features of this car. I really like the tech of this car. I like how it has a heads-up display. That's one thing that I wish my car had. Which, if you don't know what that is, I'll show it right now. Basically, it's a little hologram for when you're driving, you can see the speed right in front of you. But most of all, the coolest tech feature on this car is one that I've never seen on another car before. And it's something called the M Drift Analyzer. Essentially, what this does is you can adjust your traction to choose how much you want it. It will actually give you a rating on how good your drift was out of 5 stars. And it'll show you the degrees of angle, the speed that you were going. It's just super cool, and I know that it's one of those things that most people are probably not going to use, but when you do use it, it's a nice touch. One thing with this car I don't really like is the dash. I feel like they kind of just stuck a screen on the dashboard and made it look a little bit like they didn't really think it out well. Don't get me wrong, it looks good and it works good, but it's just not my personal preference. Now quickly, before we compare this to my car, let's just talk about the looks. In terms of the looks of the exterior of the car, Roman just put on a front lip on this car, and I think it completely changed the way the front of this car looks, and I absolutely love it. But I will be honest, before, I wasn't the biggest fan just because the bumper looks very blocky. Now for the final comparison between this car and my car. I think this car feels a lot more computerized. Everything is kind of digital, even the buttons for your heated seats and everything like that is all on the screen. So it feels a lot more digital in that sense, and I think it drives like it too because the steering definitely has less feel. But the power makes up for it, and it makes this car so much fun and so addictive to do pulls in. And overall, it definitely just has a lot more features that are better for daily driving than my car. Like, it has remote start and it has a lot more driving modes and that type of thing. And it just makes this car that much easier to daily drive, which for a rear-wheel drive sports car, there isn't that many that are easy to daily drive. So I do think this is a better daily than my car. But what I will say is, I think the feel of my car is definitely better. Keep in mind, my car is lowered on some M Performance coilovers, so it has upgraded suspension basically, which would make it easier to corner at high speeds. But I think even without that, my car feels a bit rougher than Roman's car, which is not everybody's taste, but I think for me, I get a lot of excitement out of that because it feels almost go-kart like when you're going around a turn quickly and you can feel all the bumps through the steering and everything like that. So I'm a big fan of that in that sense. Additionally, one thing that I always say to Roman is that I love the interior on his car compared to mine. There's a lot more M feeling things on this car than my car has. For example, the seats, the colors right here, I think that's just such a nice touch. And I really like how there's also the M colors on the doors and things like that. So with this car, I feel like there's just a huge difference between this and the 2 Series. Whereas with my car, I think my car feels a little bit more like a 2 Series. So just to wrap it up, I think that both of these cars are amazing. Roman's car is definitely just better for certain things, like especially sliding, straight line speed and all that, whereas my car is more of a track focused car. So I've done my review. Now let's just move over to the F87 and see what Roman has to say about it.
So driving the F87, and in honest opinion, this car driving wise is probably more fun than the G87. You know, the G87, it's an 8-speed auto, but the transmission's fast. It's a fast car without a doubt. But as far as driving feel goes, this car definitely beats it. It's a 6-speed, it's an inline 6 turbo, it's a coupe, it's lightweight, it's literally the perfect representation of modern BMW. And the 6-speed out of the F87, I think might be one of the best feeling 6-speeds. It's notchy, it's nice, it doesn't really feel like you're rowing a boat. It has auto rev match, so you don't really have to be the most skilled manual driver to get into this car, where this is David's first time daily driving a manual car. He had a manual FRS before, but only had it for a few months. Overall driver car wise, I think that this one definitely beats my car in that fact, just because in a way it feels more BMW, where in the G87, you know, you have a crazy big screen and at some points you almost feel like the car is driving you. But don't get me wrong, still an insanely fun car. Also sort of a subjective comparison that this is a 6-speed and that's a manual. I've never tried a G87 in manual, so maybe my opinion there would change, but as of this car being manual and the G87 being auto, that's where I stand for that. Now in terms of power, I would say that the G87 is a lot faster than this car. Again, could turn back to this being a manual, so you really got to know how to get through the gears to keep up with an automatic car. But I think that the S58 and the S55 are 2 completely different motors, and the S58 is basically like God's motor, where it's super unstoppable. With the S55, especially for the M2, I feel that your power band, you have to really get up there in the RPMs and have to be shifting high to really get to where it is for the power. Where for my M2 with the S58, you sort of always feel the power. There's lower end torque and there's higher end torque. It's a really good mix, even though the G87 M2 is a detuned S58, because if it had the same tune as the M4 and the M3, so G82 and G80, it would be the fastest one out of the 3. And for, you know, marketing and the M2 basically being the entry model M car, you can't have the entry model being faster than higher models above it. Oh, that's a good noise. This car sounds great. It has a full titanium catback exhaust. I have an exhaust coming in for my car. It's taking some time, but I think that the car is gonna sound really good once I get to put an exhaust in it. It's sort of the last thing that I'm missing to have the car where I want it out of the box. just driving the F87 compared to whenever I'm driving my car, this car feels smaller. The G87, it really does feel like a big car on the road. Before I had the G87, I had a 2018 E63, as you guys know, and that's a big car. And honestly, when I got into the G87, I thought that I was gonna feel sort of more crammed in that interior and that I'd be able to tell that it's a much smaller car, but I can't really say it in the G87. The car has a lot of room on the inside. Not saying that anything feels crammed in this car, but it's definitely noticeable from sitting in a G87 compared to here, especially when you get to the seats. I think that the G87 seats are a lot more long distance friendly in the way that they're a lot more comfortable. Again, not saying that there's anything wrong with these seats at all. They keep you in nice and tight. They let you go around the turn without, you know, getting thrown out of position. It's what an M seat is supposed to be. But I like being nice and comfortable when I'm driving. Again, I wouldn't mind having carbon buckets in the car just because they look really nice. But if you're gonna have comfort seats, I feel like they should be very, very comfortable. And again, going back to driver feel of this car, when you're driving this car, it seems more capable for turns, where the G87 is a heavy car. It's a very, very heavy car for what it is. I think it's like 3,700 pounds or something, where this is almost 200 pounds less. And in the long run of cars, 200 pounds is a lot of weight saving for a car. So I feel like, again, David's point, my car is really good straight line speed. And don't get me wrong, it's an M2, it's still amazing on turns. But I think if me and David were to line it up on a track, this thing would definitely handle a lot better in the turns. It almost feels like the center of gravity is lower in this car than it is on mine. From a practicality standpoint, I don't really see any difference between both cars. They're 2 series, they're not really meant to load stuff in or have high carrying capacity. Both of them are sort of just mediocre. Like, you can put your stuff in there. If you want to load some stuff, it's going to be crammed, but what do you expect out of a 2 series? It's not a full-size sedan. It's not even comparable to an SUV. It's a 2 series. It's a sports car coupe. You can't really ask for much. You get what you pay for. But what you do get when you buy an M2 is definitely a good car. For this being an entry model M car, or entry model class to begin with, this might be the best bang for your buck car ever. You get a great transmission, you get great power, you have everything that an M3, M4 has, except for the badge, basically. As far as reliability goes, the S58 has been out for around 5 years now, and the S55 has been out for roughly 10 years now. S55, main thing that people have issues with is crank hub. Don't know if that's a real thing or not. Some people say it's a myth. Some people believe it religiously. Me and David are sort of on the fence about it. Where for S58, the only problem that has come to light is when you want to start pushing more than, I think, 14.5 pounds of boost, your charge coolers begin to separate its plastic and metal sort of sections. I think that the cars that me and David both chose perfectly describe the kind of driving that we like to do, where David, he liked to drop a gear and go fast around a turn and, you know, really get that sort of that driving feel going, where I like to go fast in a straight line and, you know, slide my turns and sort of be able to feel the oversteer of a car. So the easiest way that I could summarize these two cars is that if you want a more track-based sort of car where, you know, it almost feels like you're feeling everything, you're driving with the car, F87 is probably a better option to go with. It doesn't really have all the insane features. It's driver and car. That's exactly what it is. And I will always choose the G87 over the F87. I like the looks more, I like the interior more, I like the overall driving more, just because it is a daily driving car, and I think that there's more potential out of the G87 than the F87. Now, it goes without me saying that I think that both of these cars are absolutely phenomenal. I think that the M2 is some of BMW's best presentation of what BMW is all about. For the amount of money that these cars go for and the car that you get out of it, I think it's the best bang for your buck sports car that you can get into in the modern day for a reasonable budget. All right, that's all we got, guys. We hope you enjoyed the comparison of both of the cars. Next week, we're gonna make a video getting more into detail about the comparison from the G chassis to the F chassis. Hope to see you guys then. Peace.